Like, damn, winter, make room for spring. Your time is up. It's enough. Anyways, in today's video, as I said, I will be talking about mental health, or like a topic regarding my mental health. Hello guys, welcome to another video. It's me, Kwamina Joe, and yes, today I will be talking about mental health. I haven't done one of these videos in quite a while actually, so I am pivoting back to that. But first, outfit check, because I do like to always show my outfits, even though today's outfit is nothing major. Just have on a DMX t-shirt, but I did something new with my eyes. I don't know if I did it well, but I'm trying colored eyeliners. I haven't tried them for quite a while, but this time without putting like a black liner to fill it in as well. So anyways, that's cute or whatever. And then I have a matching scarf that has some blue notes in it. And I have this jacket. This is a jacket, yeah. And a DMX shirt, and then these pants. So yeah, I'm a bit colorful today. And I got myself some tea, because it's still chilly. Like spring is knocking on our doors, but winter refuses to let go. Like, damn, winter, make room for spring. Your time is up. It's enough. Anyways, in today's video, as I said, I will be talking about mental health, or like a topic regarding my mental health. And I'm gonna talk about OCD. So, in a previous video, I think I had talked about going to a therapist. The first time I went to a therapist, I think it was somewhere in 2014, 2015. And I remember clearly talking with her about OCD and these signs or triggers or things that I was doing that were a clear indication of me having OCD. So anyways, but before I begin, I as usual, I define what it is. So I am gonna insert, of course, the definition, but I also looked it up. OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder. It's a type of anxiety disorder, and as the name suggests, it is characterized by unreasonable fears or thoughts, obsessions, which often lead to compulsive behavior or urges. OCD can present itself in different ways, but the most common feature is an obsession to perform certain actions or rituals in response to obsessive thoughts. So, of course, for others, these acts may seem unnecessary, but if you are affected by OCD, these actions are vital. What is considered a compulsion? Repeated behaviors such as hand washing, ordering things, or checking things, or mental acts, including praying, counting, repeating words. These behaviors or mental acts are intended to prevent or reduce stress. Sometimes there is also a fear that a negative event will occur if they do not follow through with the compulsion. So, anyways, that's it in a nutshell, the definition of OCD. Let's start with my story then. So when I went to my therapist in 2014, 2015, I talked about my compulsions, and some of my compulsions were not breathing after somebody had sneezed. I really had to kind of, I would hold my breath for quite a long time, and I had an obsession with the number 7 or the avoidance of the number 6. I have a religious background, and at a certain point in my teenage years, I learned that the number 6 is the number of the devil. So it just gave me the heebie-jeebies. And I had this compulsion with avoiding the number 6. So if I was watching television and you could increase the volume levels, it could never end in a number that's summed up 6. So for example, if the increment of the volume goes by twos, by pairs, so if you go from 20 to 21 and 24, 24 is a number that I would avoid, because 2 plus 4 equals 6, and I'm not trying to watch the television on a volume that ends in the devil's number. See, I know it makes no sense to other people, but it is something that for me I had to do, or I had to avoid the number 6. Also the same with if I baked cookies, or somebody would offer me cookies or would offer me certain goods and it ends in the number 6, then I would have to take 7 cookies or 5 cookies, but never 6. So those are some of like the physical things I encountered. Then I remember having this compulsion that I had to cover my ears with the scarf at night. So if I were to tie my hair, my ears would have to be completely covered, otherwise the devil might whisper in my ear at night. And I also had this compulsion with praying. I had to pray a certain amount of times, and I had to also pray in a certain direction. So if I were to pray in bed, then I had to look up, because if I look down, then I'm praying to the devil. So you see, my compulsions are very much related to my religion, and those are kind of like the physical compulsions that everybody could see, or well, not everybody could see, but if you were close to me, near me, you could see that if I was watching TV, the number 6 avoidance, the counting of like it can't end in 6, and then the covering my ears when I slept. And then there's also another form of OCD, which is called pure OCD, and those are hidden compulsion. And pure OCD, I'm also going to read the definition. Purely obsessional OCD, also known as pure O, is a type of OCD in which a sufferer engages in hidden compulsions. Instead of combating their intrusive thoughts with visible rituals, such as hand washing or counting, they perform repetitive mental rituals to minimize stress. So symptoms of pure OCD can vary greatly from person to person. However, the topics of people's intrusive thoughts tend to fall within certain themes. So there's sexuality, responsibility, violence, fate, health, and romance. So I have realized for myself that I had both harm OCD and sexual orientation OCD. The harm OCD I still struggle with a bit, and as I notice that one really rises when I am distressed, and then I have to find ways to regulate myself. Harm OCD is the fear of harming yourself, a loved one, or a stranger, and sexual orientation OCD is the fear that you're gay when you're actually straight, or vice versa. And I also want to talk about the common pure OCD compulsions, because this form of OCD, since it's not that visible, a lot of people don't necessarily know that they have it. It's also hard for you to recognize that you might have it, and it's also hard to recognize it in others. When it comes to pure OCD, I think I just realized actually 3 months ago that I had the sexual orientation OCD when I was a teenager. I had already known about the harm OCD, but I didn't know that the questions that I was asking myself when I was a teenager, that was also a form of pure OCD. But yeah, what are some of the common pure OCD compulsions? So you have guilt, feeling deeply ashamed for having guilt, feeling deeply ashamed for having violent, blasphemous, or sexual intrusive thoughts. Thinking you're a bad person, your character is at risk if you do the wrong thing, and you feel devastated if someone thinks you're a bad person. Avoidance, avoiding objects, places, and people that are related to the nature of your intrusive thoughts. Answer seeking, establishing legitimacy and determining answers to your thoughts. Reassurance, going to church or temple and talking with clergy members or getting reassurance from family members that you've reached the right conclusion. Research, looking online for the answers to your questions. Common misconceptions about pure OCD is that to have OCD you have to engage in noticeable rituals like hand washing or counting. And another misconception is that people with pure OCD are suffering from a disorder other than OCD, like schizophrenia or borderline personality disorder. And the third one, that a person's intrusive thoughts are legitimate representations of their character. So yes, back to my compulsions or my forms of pure OCD. As I had mentioned, I have experienced both harm OCD and sexual orientation OCD. And I'm gonna talk about the sexual orientation OCD one first. I remember being around, I think 14, around that age. I was still living in Venezuela. I was still a teenager. And I don't know what triggered it specifically, but I do remember that I came back from school one day and I went online and I started searching "Am I gay?" quizzes. And I think that's a very normal thing for teenagers to do when they are exploring their sexuality. However, I had an added layer. I started doing a lot of research, which is also a compulsion. I think I spent the rest of that day just repeatedly taking the "Am I gay?" or "Am I a lesbian?" quiz. And the results would fluctuate between I am 100% a lesbian to I'm 100% straight. By that time, I wasn't like really fully looking into things like bisexuality. I was just like, I'm either full on gay or I'm full on straight. And as a religious person, I better be straight, because how am I gonna go into heaven? And I wasn't satisfied with the results, because I had noticed for myself how much they fluctuated. That resulted in me then, if constantly on a daily basis, actually at every moment, asking myself the question, am I gay or am I straight? And I would ask myself that question maybe more than 100 times per day, and I would kind of mentally force myself to constantly say, I'm straight. And if I answered, am I gay, in my head, you're gay, then I would ask again until I had the, oh, I'm straight answer. And then I would ask myself the question again to reassure that the next answer was going to be, I'm straight. So that loop kept on playing in my head for a lot of days, months, and actually years. I also avoided looking at girls or looking at women, because like, even if I would just glance at a friend and I would be excited, maybe because the dress was beautiful, or maybe the person looked beautiful, regardless, if I would have a human reaction to me viewing a girl or the female body, I would automatically think, oh, see, you're gay, so I have to do something to neutralize that. It was very exhausting. And one of the things that I have when it comes to depression and anxiety and my mental health, I am a very good performer. I'm a very good masker of things. So I didn't have compulsions that were visible to people, because I didn't want people to label me as crazy. So only I knew that I had this compulsive thought for years. And I think it was somewhere in 2019 that I talked to a friend about it. That I told a friend about, oh, my longest compulsion was asking myself if I'm gay or straight. Present day me no longer asks myself that question, because I have found ways to regulate myself with regards to anxiety. OCD is directly linked to anxiety, and me having dealt with anxiety and gone through to the root of my anxiety has alleviated and has released me from that am I gay or am I straight question. And also I no longer put that much of a pressure on my sexuality in that sense. Like, I'm free to love who I want to love. The harm OCD, however, that one is a tough one, and it's still a bit present. You know, it's sometimes when I'm stressed, it kind of pops up, and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling anxious. Time to regulate myself. So with the harm OCD, examples are that if I see a knife, then I get the intrusive thought of stab yourself in the eyes, cut yourself. Or when I'm walking across a bridge or a balcony or a platform, then I have the feeling, the urge to jump. And for instance, if I have a nail clipper on my bed, because I was cutting my nails earlier that day and I left it on my bed, by the time I go to sleep, I have to remove it and put it in the drawer far away from me, because my fear is that I will take the clippers, the nail clippers, in my sleep, and then I will cut my eyes out. Is there a logic sense to it? No. But that's the thing of OCD. It makes no sense to others. But in that moment, if I'm distressed, taking that action allows me to create the illusion of peace. So when I notice that that the harm OCD pops up again, then I know that, oh, I'm feeling stressed. I have to find ways to regulate myself. And I find it quite interesting that it's called pure OCD, when one of the main reasons that I have these OCD triggers is that I wanted to remain as pure as possible. I have this long obsession with being perfect and being pure, and it started at a young age because I wanted to be perfect for my parents. I wanted to do right by my parents. I wanted to be the perfect daughter. I wanted to be the perfect Christian. And there's nothing as being perfect. There's no such thing as being perfect. But trying to achieve it, or trying to achieve perfection, is something that has been very triggering for me, and has indeed triggered my OCD tendencies. There's good news. There's recovery is possible. Okay, so don't be afraid, don't fret. Recovery is indeed possible. Things that I did to treat my OCD is that I went into talk therapy. I know how to regulate myself. I no longer deal with it in such a heavy way. But for pure OCD, the treatment, I'm gonna first talk about treatments for pure OCD. So people with pure OCD can get much better through exposure response prevention therapy. ERP is when you voluntarily expose yourself to the source of your fear over and over again without acting out any compulsion to neutralize or stop the fear. And that's something that I've done repeatedly. Also, when it comes to the sexual orientation OCD, I really started looking at my friends' bodies. I started looking at, you know, just the female body in general, and I started painting the female body a lot, and I realized that it started neutralizing the female body for me, and then that it wasn't something that I had to be afraid of, or something that I was like, oh, by me looking or glancing at a woman, I'm automatically a lesbian. And then also me exploring my sexuality and exploring who I am, it really minimized the fear, so I no longer have that fear, and I'm also very comfortable in my sexuality. Again, like whoever human I end up with, I don't mind. And then when it comes to harm OCD, I have sometimes indeed, like, I've exposed myself to sharp knives, sharp objects. I have walked over bridges and crossed them and told myself, see, you didn't jump. Or I've slept with nail clippers in my bed and woke up and said like, hey, see, you didn't cut your eyes out. So I've been very intentional about telling myself like, see, there's nothing to fear, nothing happened, so that I could gain that trust within myself that I am not gonna harm myself. And I'm also doing a bit more of physical activity, so I am, when I'm feeling dysregulated or anxious, then I go to the gym, or I go pole dancing, or I do something creative to be present in my body. So now in 2023, the end all of this video, how am I dealing with OCD now and how am I feeling? I no longer have to cover my ears when I sleep with my scarves, so that's fine. And I've also slept a few times without scarves now, and child, I sleep so deep that even if the devil were to whisper in my ears, me can't hear a thing. So no fear there. So no fear there, because I've slept and nothing has happened. So when it comes to avoiding the number 6, that's more it. I have also made peace with that one. And also with regards to the harm OCD, I do notice that one popping up quite sometimes when I am a bit anxious or uneasy. And the sexual orientation OCD, I have said goodbye to that one, as I said before. At the root of this is anxiety, and I have dealt with my anxiety. I have found ways to deal with anxiety, and as I said, is for me personally, and this is for me personally, finding stability in my faith with God, that God accepts me regardless of my sexual orientation, of who I love or choose to have as a partner, and that God accepts me for just who I am, and that I don't have to be perfect in God's eyes, has been very calming and has helped me a lot. So it's in realizing that God for me is a source of safety, has been so impactful. Something that has also helped me in my anxiety journey is when I am feeling uneasy or when I'm feeling triggered, I pray first and foremost, but then I also go and do a physical activity. So I'm channeling that nervousness, that anxious energy into something physical, something that I can really channel it into and leave it and have it leave my body. So those are the two things, the main two things that have truly helped me. And also meditating and dancing especially. So I think, yeah, it's a combination of, for me it's been a combination of finding internal peace, but then also channeling that energy into something else outside of me. Anyway, this is my short video about me about my experience with OCD and pure OCD. I'm gonna wrap it up a bit. I have dealt with OCD and pure OCD. It's an ongoing thing. It's something that I still closely monitor when it comes to my own mental health. I went to therapy for it. I discussed it with my therapist, so I had psychotherapy for it, and as a result I am now on the other end of it, where I can regulate it easily when it pops up again. So yeah, I wanted to kind of like wrap it up, or wrap everything up that I said in this video, and I hope you found it informative, and I hope as well that if you are dealing with either OCD or pure OCD, that you can find the support that you need, that you can talk about it. There's nothing to be ashamed about, and that you know that it's, you know, these intrusive thoughts or these compulsions are not who you are. They're not a representation of your identity, of who you are as a person. So don't internalize it, don't make it your own, but go and seek help, because there are people that are very knowledgeable about what to do or how they can help you. So I hope this video helped. Like, comment and subscribe, and also if you feel free, or if you feel that this resonates, don't hesitate to send me a message. My Instagram handle is @kwamina__jo. Anyways, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and I wish you a beautiful and blessed day. And yes, see you in the next video. Bye.